Hello and welcome back to My Dank Dog. This is episode 2 of Bruce Baby Banner that's now growing in a 5-gallon pot. I just want to start with a shout out to Spider Farmer for sending me this Evo SF2000 2x4 grow tent kit. It's awesome. Thank you very much. We've got Bruce Baby Banner front and center there. As you can see, she's growing nice. She's growing pretty well. On the left-hand side, we've got her older sister, who's 7 weeks, growing in an 18-ounce solo cup. She's looking a little bit yellow in comparison to our 6-week-old Bruce Banner front and center there. And on the right-hand side, we've got an early miss Autoflower that's 4 weeks old. So you can get a good spread and range of the growth between the plants there. If we take a closer look at the leaves on Baby Banner here, they are lush, growing really nice. There's no signs of any bud hairs at the moment, but I think she's still stretching. I think she's still growing. The leaves are growing like crazy. She's super thirsty as well. So that means there's a lot of growth on her. We're just going to kind of trim away some of these bottom leaves in this episode. We're not really going to do much. If you remember in the previous episode, the first episode, I did some pretty extreme LST on her. I was a bit worried for a time whether it is male or female, but she's definitely female. She's got all her lady bits under here, as you can see. So I think it's just a matter of time, maybe another week or so, before she starts to show her bud hairs and her bud sites. So just a little bit more patience on my side. We're just going to go in here and neaten up the LST. You can see it's a bit messy, and trim away some of these bottom fan leaves that are not really doing much. They're not getting much light. So we're also going to chop some of the top fan leaves off as well to give some light down through the canopy to the other kind of node areas that have branches growing up too, to see if we can get them to stretch and reach up a bit and get more of a level playing field canopy at the top. But she's looking great. Really happy with how she's growing. She loves these lights. She loves this pot. And yeah, I think she's going to turn out to be a monster. So really looking forward to seeing how she turns out. Just going to trim away all of these leaves down here and open it up a bit at the bottom. I'm going to do too much this week or go too crazy on her. I'm also going to chop away some of these top large fan leaves as well, as I just said, just to open up the light to some of these branches that can grow up towards the light to get them to stretch a little bit. But yeah, let's just start by trimming away. And also as well, you probably noticed that I now have handles on this pot, and that's because I have a pot in a pot. In the last episode, I put the soil in my fabric pot with the handles on the inside. By the time I noticed, I just thought, oh, bollocks, carry on. And you have to remember, I'm growing weed, which means that I consume weed. And when I consume weed, I do weed type things. So putting potting soil in a fabric pot with the handles on the inside is a weed thing, but it's not the weediest thing that I've done. Not by a long shot. So just trimming away some of these leaves at the bottom here. Some of them are big, some of them are small. Also gives some space for air circulation and ventilation to get to the base of the plant as well. So there's another reason for doing it. But all of these leaves are super healthy, as you can see. They're nice and dark green, especially in comparison to the other Bruce Banner in the 18-ounce cup on the left there. I'm really struggling with keeping the nutrients and pH levels leveled out on that one, but we'll go into that on another episode. But also, as you can see, she's darker than the early mist strain on the right hand side, but I think that's just, you know, the difference between strains. The early mist on the right hand side has these kind of like neon areas of new growth where the buds are. It's crazy. That plant's only 4 weeks old. Can't wait to do an update on that this week, because she's got so many bud sites growing. I know you've seen the sister of that plant in the Global Grow Cup episodes that I've got, that's 1 week older, 5 weeks older with those buds. I think the one in the 5-gallon pot there on the right hand side is going to turn into be a monster. So I think I'm going to have two monsters here. This Bruce Banner here in the 5-gallon pot, and the early miss on the right hand side there in a 5-gallon pot. I think they're both going to be monsters, and hopefully I can fill this tent out a little bit. I don't think they're going to be tall, so I don't think they're going to, you know, stretch to the 6-foot height of this tent. But I do think they're going to be bushy and quite wide. I think the if I hadn't done the LST on it, I think it would probably be about 3 foot high, which is, I guess, pretty reasonable. But because I did the LST on it, you can see it's probably about 1.5 foot high. But yeah, I think in future, when I go on to photo periods especially, I'm going to grow much larger plants in this tent. Now I have the space, and just get some monsters basically. Just grow something a little bit bigger. Get the scrog netting in here as well, and try and kind of grow something wide as well as tall. Most of the autoflowers that I've tried to grow are pretty squat. I know that AK-47 and Magic Melon were, I guess, pretty big, but I don't think that Bruce Banner is going to be as big as those guys. Also, the ice cream cake that I grew was nice. It was nice and wide. It wasn't super tall either. It was probably only about 2 or 3 foot high, but it was thick and it was dense. And I like the way that this Bruce Banner is growing. It's quite similar to that as well. It's kind of like got an even spread. Kind of looks like it's got these circular bird's nest turrets forming. So hopefully I can get it nice and symmetrical like that ice cream cake that I grew, because that just looked like a beautiful plant when it grew. So my LST here is a little bit shoddy and messy. I'm not going to be neatening that up too much in this episode. I just want to kind of defoliate her a touch, and if the wire needs adjusting slightly, I'm just going to do that where needed. But I don't really care too much about really nailing her down with the LST in this episode. I think what I'm going to do is let her kind of veg out a little bit more after this trim, and then next week see how it's gone forward, see if we've got any kind of signs of bud sites, any hairs forming, and then decide what I'm going to do with the LST and whether I'm going to kind of really trim it down some more. But yeah, she's looking good. Also as well, this is in Fox Farm Ocean Forest soil with a top layer of worm castings, and I've been using Gaia Green all-purpose 444, and then I'll be moving on to the Power Bloom as soon as she starts to show the signs of the bud sites there as well. I'm also thinking of using molasses and the Epsom salts together to do the kind of calcium magnesium. I think that's going to come into it. We can go over that a little bit later, but yeah, I'm going to try some alternatives that have been recommended to me from you guys in the comments. So I do pay attention to it and I do try it. Even using Gaia Green came from comments from people, and worm castings as a top layer came as advice and comments from people. So yeah, I did get some molasses. I'm going to be trying that as well as the Epsom salts, which again was comments and advice from all of you guys as well. You have to remember, I'm still a relative beginner. My channel's pretty young and I don't have that many grows under my belt. I think I'm maybe getting close to 10 now, or just over 10 grows. And, you know, it's definitely been a learning experience. Now that I've got a little bit more space and I can kind of afford to grow a few more plants at once, you know, I'm hoping to get way more grows under my belt, as well as learning about photo periods and different types of LST. Definitely want to try and do some mainlining, strict mainlining and topping of plants as well. So I've got a whole list of things that I want to do, but one thing at a time. I don't think after my recent experience of the grow cups that I'm going to rush back into doing a grow cup. They are very needy. I think probably like, I don't know, 5 times needier than just a normal plant, which you can water and kind of forget about, and feed and forget about. Look at these leaves. There's a good chunk of those leaves off there. They're all healthy. But as I was saying, a plant in a big pot leaves you to have free time to do other things, and you don't have to kind of pay so much attention to it. But the grow cups, wow, they're needy as hell. So this is the Gaia Green All-Purpose 444, and I'll be moving on to the Gaia Green Power Bloom 284 shortly, as soon as she starts to show the signs of bud hairs and bud sites, which I think is probably going to be any day now. I'm already using the Power Bloom on the early miss on the right hand side, and this is the molasses. This is going to help with the Epsom salts together for the calcium and magnesium, so I'm going to use that as well. Try to keep it an organic grow as best as I can. But yeah, she's looking good. We're going to take some of these top leaves off here, some of the larger fan leaves off here, just to put light down to the growth of the nodes and branches below, and see if we can get those to stretch up towards the light as well. Try to even it out a touch. She looks great, but you can see that some of the areas are stretching quicker and higher than the others. I want to just try and even it out. So just going to get some light to those kind of smaller. They look like chicks, don't they? They kind of look like chicks in a nest begging for food. That's what the top of these plants look like to me. Every time I see them, it's kind of like they're little chicks trying to eat the light from above. That might be just me, guys, but that's how it looks. That's how it looks to me. So yeah, we're just going to trim her off here, and yeah, I don't think we're going to do too much more. There's a few other big leaves that I want to take off here. I've probably neatened the LST up. I'll take a quick check afterwards and just kind of like see if I can tighten it down and go from there. But yeah, apart from just giving it this trim and defoliating, that's it for this week. This is 2 weeks video. I didn't post an update on her last week. I was just letting her grow under these Spider Farmer SF2000 lights in this new tent, and she's responded well. She's loving it. She's loving her 5-gallon fabric pot from Spider Farmer. She's loving the tent, and she's definitely responding well to the lights too. So all is good. It's crazy to think that this was a backup plant that was in a solo cup, and I was considering just throwing it away. But I think once you started to grow a plant past its infancy, it's almost as soon as it germinates and pops its head through the soil, you kind of got that plant for good. You're not going to throw it away. So it's a bit of a pain in the ass having to kind of like cover your bases and grow or germinate multiple seeds, and then you're left with extra plants that you have to tend for, and then you've got to find the space for them. So we're going to see. I need to give these plants the best attention that I can. I really want to get a good growth going from these ladies. The grow cups, as you can see on the left hand side, just so many problems with them. I know autoflowers have the general problem as well because they grow so quick. It's hard to kind of like adjust, and I can't wait to go on to a photo period that's going to give me, you know, a little bit more time to adjust with the nutrients and kind of work with it a little bit more. But yeah, the autoflowers are quick to grow and need quick attention when they're in trouble. This is the next day, 24 hours later, and she's looking great. She's already started to stretch. No signs of bud hairs yet, but I think that's going to happen in the next day or two. Can you see that little variegated leaf there? The little mutated 50-50 leaf. Every one of these Bruce banners has had that on it, but she's looking great. I'm pretty sure there's going to be buds by next week. These lower node branches have started to stretch. Now we gave them some extra light. There's another variegated mutated leaf, but she's looking great. Guys, thank you very much for tuning in. Please stay tuned for the next episode, and thank you very much for your comments and your likes, and a big shout out to Spider Farmer for this SF2000 Grow Tent kit. The setup's amazing. Thanks again, guys. Until next time, bye bye.